Lori, welcome to Thriving Beyond Diabetes show.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
It's our pleasure to have you on our show. Lori, your journey through chronic illness and autoimmune conditions is incredibly inspiring. How did your story lead you to become a wellness coach and author? And you can also share who you help.
Well, I ended up getting sick one day, thinking I had a little bit of a flu, and ended up being bedbound for about a year and a half. Saw a lot of doctors. They ran the tests and did all the different therapies, and they gave me a diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia. Eventually, I also got mold illness, Lyme disease, and lupus, as well as chronic pain, and several others in there. But those first couple of years just felt really hopeless. Made a little bit of progress, but had my ups and downs, ended up homebound again for several years, and really 27 years of dealing with all of this. And I remember one day my youngest had just graduated from high school and thinking, okay, I can slow down now. What do I want? And really realized that I had been running on stress for so many years, just trying to keep up and keep it all together. When I made decisions to slow down and really practice a lot of self-care, being able to deal with stress response and everything that was going on, I was surprised to notice that my health issues just started going away. It really showed me that deep connection between the mind and the body. And so often we rely so much on the medical community, which is amazing. But I think we often underestimate that mind-body connection and how stress really does change the physiology of our body. So within about 10 months, I lost all of my diagnoses, ran my very first 5K, which was very exciting considering just 10 months before I'd been homebound, and really have wanted to share that with other people. Working with other mind-body coaches and experts and being able to learn more, and has just been amazing. And I really get to work with some amazing people who have been dealing with a lot of these challenges, sometimes for the better part of a lifetime, and helping them to be able to learn how to use the mind to connect with the body and help in the healing process.
Brilliant. Very interesting story and mission as well. So through your struggles, which they took years of suffering, you managed to overcome that. But the surprise is when you started to see results was about I think 2 months. Is that correct?
Yes, it did take some slowing down and focusing because I wasn't used to slowing down. When I started thinking, what do I enjoy? I had a hard time thinking of anything because I'd been going so quickly. So learning how to meditate, learning how to slow down and do some artwork, was able to get out a little bit and be able to start walking in nature and enjoying nature. It felt very unnatural at first. But once I got the hang of it, I was really able to start enjoying it and seeing really the benefit of it, not just mentally and emotionally, But then the way that that translated into my body, instead of being so wrapped up in the stress response, being able to relax and then focus that energy and those resources on healing.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. It looks like you were working on mindset as well, not just the body, but the mind and positive thinking. That is very important. Later we will talk about the mindset and our brain. I noticed you talk about compassionate self-coaching, which can be a powerful tool or strategy when it comes to healing. Can you explain what that looks like and how someone can start using it specifically for those who are struggling with diabetes?
Yes, and really a great question. You know, we live in a society that moves very quickly, and we can be very hard on ourselves. When we are hard on ourselves, I need to do more, I need to do it better, I'm not doing enough, we trigger that fight or flight response in our brain, which releases stress chemicals, adrenaline and cortisol and several others. And that keeps us in that stress response. Whereas when we can have self-compassion, what I call compassionate self-coaching, we start with compassionate awareness, really looking at ourselves from a place of love and compassion. That awareness of, wow, you know what I'm going through is really hard right now, and I'm doing the best that I can. We would speak to a friend that way, but we don't speak to ourselves that way. When we can have that compassionate awareness for ourselves, it allows our fight-flight stress response to relax and to come down. And then once we have that compassionate awareness, we can move into self-coaching. What do I need in this moment? Maybe I need to just go sit and have a cup of coffee for a minute. Maybe I need to get out and sit on the back porch for a few minutes and have some time in nature. Maybe I really just need to slow down and have a nice quiet meal. And really taking the time to ask, what do I need? And then self-care. How can I do that now? So we might not have time to go for a 3-day vacation, but I can go sit out on my patio for 5 minutes right now. I can just take a few minutes and take some nice, slow, deep breaths. And so that compassionate self-coaching, really taking care of ourselves from a place of compassion, rather than that old response of, ugh, I have to do this again, I'm not doing it well enough, is a huge change in our perspective towards caring for ourselves. And our body then responds to that.
Brilliant. Very interesting. The concept itself is fascinating. It is actually a tool that can help because it trigger like a positive thinking. And you mentioned that it relax stress response, which because when we are less stressed, we can think better. Thank you for sharing that. Let's move to the next point. You mentioned a story about the king and the kingdom in your book, which is interesting. It sounds like a powerful metaphor. So the question here is, can you share it with us and explain how it resonates to healing from the inside out?
Yes. In my book, Rewire Your Wellness, I tell the story of a king. And this king, as he comes into guiding his kingdom, he is gifted a dragon. And this dragon is the protector of his kingdom. It is the heart and soul of his kingdom. And in the same way that our heart, our emotions, are there to protect us and to be our heart and soul, our emotions are just a very powerful and amazing part of us. The king is also gifted a group of historians, his storytellers, and they help him to make sense of the past. In the same way that we have memories in our lives, we have memories from childhood, from different things that have happened in our lives. These memories help us to make sense and to think ahead of the future. The king was also given an ambassador who helped to regulate his interactions with the outside world. And then the king had the subjects of his kingdom. And so we look at these parts of the kingdom, the dragon representing our emotions, the storytellers representing our memories and our thoughts, the ambassador representing our relationships with the outside world, whether it's people, nature, our jobs, and then the people of the kingdom, which represents our body, the place where we live. All of these parts are a part of the kingdom. But the king is the decision maker. And the king gets to lead his kingdom from a place of compassion, from a place of teamwork. And the same way for us, especially when we're dealing with chronic health challenges like diabetes, is we can get so focused on dealing with the physical. But that has a big impact on the emotional. It has an impact on the mental, the stories that we tell ourselves, the fears. And it has an impact on the way we relate to the outside world. We have, it's called our mindful self, the part of us that creates the choice, that makes our decisions, our place of making choice, our place of leadership, being able to choose, how am I going to deal with my stress today? What can I do? Rather than letting that dragon of the kingdom run rampant. We can speak kindly to our emotional self. We can speak kindly to our physical self and guide all of those parts to work together in a way for all the parts' benefit.
Brilliant. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that story. And it's available in your book, which is called
Rewire Your Wellness.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. You know that rewiring the brain sounds like a fascinating and life-changing process, specifically when dealing with chronic illness. Your book is about that as well and has a lot of valuable information. The question here is, what is neuroplasticity and how can people start rewiring their brains for better health?
And great question. Thank you. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to rewire itself. And think about anytime you learn something new, it's hard at first You have to think about each of the tiny little parts. I'm learning how to draw right now. It's awkward, it's messy. I have to really think about even something simple. As we progress and as we learn, it becomes more and more automatic. It becomes easier because our brain is created to be able to learn and to make new neural connections that make this event, whatever it is that we're learning, easier the next time. So the more we practice something, the more these wires become more wired, and we can get into these patterns. And when we've been dealing with chronic illness or any stressful situation, we can have wires that are sending messages of, this is dangerous, this is bad. We can have wires that are wired for stress. And so sometimes we can just wake up in a stressful state because we've become so wired to be on guard. And I know I have a close relative dealing with diabetes, and I see that there's a lot to manage. You're managing food choices, the timing of your food choices, medications, all the what ifs that can come with it. And so it's very easy then for that brain to get wired to be on guard. Neuroplasticity means that we can change that wiring and that we have the ability, just like the king had the ability to make choices and guide his kingdom, we have the ability to make choices from our mindful self, to make choices to guide the creation of new wires of safety, new wires of peace and calm. And so the whole science of neuroplasticity is relatively new. So it's really exciting to see what we're seeing about how we can change things that we thought were previously hardwired into our brain. And so then this gives us the ability to now be able to work with our body and guide our body into safety and healing, and be able to help us stay calm, relaxed, and really enjoy life in the way that we want to.
Brilliant. Very interesting. A follow-up question for this point. Is rewiring the brain the first step when it comes to a health journey?
You know, rewiring the brain is part of that. What we want to be able to do in order to rewire the brain is first to be able to start bringing down that stress response. Because if the brain is in a heightened stress response, then it's distracted. So think about, if you have a fire in the kitchen, you're not going to be putting away the laundry. Kind of the same way. If the brain is saying, hey, we're not safe, we're not really in a good place yet to start doing the rewiring. The first step then is to start to bring down some of that stress response. So I usually talk to people about, what works for each of us is going to be different, but for some people it is learning how to meditate. For some people it's a walk in the woods. For some it's doing art or playing with the cat or the dog. For each person, being able to, what brings me peace, what brings me calm, and to start investing in those things. And then once that stress response starts to come down, it just really opens up a whole new world of being able to rewire those old patterns.
Brilliant. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that great information. Earlier, you mentioned body and mind connection, which is often overlooked by many of us. Can you touch a little bit more on the relationship with our body?
Yes. So our brain is wired to keep us safe. And so when we have a situation that feels unsafe, that could be a physical situation. That could be somebody ran a stop sign and, oh no, we hit the brakes. Our brain is wired for that. It could be just as easily, it could be a thought. Thinking about what happens if, what happens if I get in a car accident today? What happens if my child falls at recess and hurts herself? Those thoughts can trigger that same response of our nervous system as does an actual physical response. And so when that happens, our brain triggers the release of those same chemicals, the adrenaline, the cortisol, and the different chemicals that prepare the body to fight or flight. And we can do that from our thoughts, from our mind. And so the mind and the body are very definitely connected. And the beauty of neuroplasticity is because we can learn to guide our thoughts and our emotions, then we can consciously have an impact on our body. And we have an amazing medical system. It's so easy to think it's just about fixing the body. But there's so much in that mind-body connection that the mind and the body can work together toward healing. So much more effective than just throwing more medications at it.
Brilliant. Very interesting. So there are a lot to digest here. So you covered a lot today, from managing stress, rewiring the brain, mindset shift, and compassionate self-coaching. Wellness is not just physical, and it's emotional, mental, and spiritual. You touched on many aspects. So the question here, can you explain how these aspects work together in your approach to healing?
Yes. I've created actually a free ebook, which I would love to invite your listeners. I can give you that information. But it goes into the 5 foundational principles that we can use to be able to rewire our wellness. The first one being creating a positive environment around us. Especially right now, we live in a high stress news cycle that continues to feed that stress response. So doing things like reducing news input, adding joy, what brings you joy, being able to create a positive emotional environment that supports healing. Then next is to be able to befriend our body. When we've had chronic illness, I've been there. I for years, I just wanted to trade in my body for a new model because I was angry, I was frustrated. But being able to befriend our body and recognize, it's doing the best that it can. Let's be a team. How can I support my body today rather than be at war with it? The third principle is to be able to guide our thoughts. It's easy to let our thoughts get away with us and to just run rampant into all of the what ifs. And again, that triggers that fight or flight response, that stress response. Being able to learn how to guide our thoughts in a way that supports our calm, our being present, and our body's ability to heal. And then being able to manage the fostering healthy connections with the outside world through our relationships, through whether it's our job, our home, and our spirituality, with our relationship with God, higher power, whatever your beliefs are. Being able to foster healthy connections helps us to stay calm and grounded. And all of that then being able to lead from our mindful self, being able to intentionally lead all of those areas. So those are the 5 foundational principles of neural retraining that really it all boils down to.
Very interesting. I think these 5 fundamentals for wellness are very great. They are strategies people can start using, and they are available in more details in your book. If you can just give us information about your book. Is it out? Is it on Amazon? Where is it?
Yes, it is out. It is on Amazon and on all major retailers. So, and it is Amazon around the world. So wherever your listeners are coming from, it will be there on Amazon.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that as well. Before we wrap this episode, do you have a final message you would like to share with our audience?
You know, something I never thought in those early days that I could hear myself say, and that is that healing is possible. Healing is the result of calm, being at peace with our life, being able to be that resilience of whatever comes, we're able to manage. And that really is health and wellness. Life is never going to be perfect. You know, so often it's easy to say, I'll be happy when, but really health and wellness means I can be happy now. I can find joy. I can find connection now. And that really is the beauty of being able to rewire our nervous system, is that we can be fully in the present and we can find joy and connection and wellness now.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing your inspiring message. So healing is possible. Where can people reach you or learn more about what you do?
I have a website, Lori Clemmons, LORICLEMMONS.com, where I have a lot of information. I have a free ebook there that really talks more about neuroplasticity and neural retraining, as well as more details about the 5 foundational principles. And then I also have a YouTube channel that has a lot of videos, practicals on how you can start implementing these techniques.
Brilliant. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing your contact information. People can find the link to your website and one of your social media in the show notes for easy access. That brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you, Lori Clemmons, for sharing helpful tips and insights. Thank you, everyone, for watching or listening to this episode. If you need additional guidance, you can book a call at wellnessimpact.org. If you found value in today's discussion, join our thriving community and subscribe or follow us for more insights and strategies. Until next time, take care of your health and keep thriving.